All right, so first off, I asked you some questions before we get started, because they gotta make sure if you're real or if you're fake, and, you know, so you gotta go to your background, which is one of the favorite parts. So this is gonna be the investor series. We have it planned out through March. You know, what's your history? What are you good at? What do you stink at? We're gonna ask these questions. So basically, if you know, like, when did you start investing in real estate? Here's the background of Noah.
Okay, so 2004, I bought my first investment property. I use it in quotes because it wasn't a real investment. I didn't know what I was doing. I bought a house in Florida. It was the house I lived in. We moved out of Florida right as the real estate market started to crash. And I tried to sell it for more money than it was probably worth, because I had a real estate agent that told me it was worth a lot of money. And they were willing to do it for 4% commission. So that's the agent I went with, the one that told me the highest price for the lowest commission.
How dare you?
I was not a real estate agent at the time, but that's what excited me. Someone who told me a high price and a low commission. So anyway, it didn't sell for that price, and I ended up having to hold on to it for 15 years. I had to rent it out for 15 years because the market crashed and it was worth less than what I paid for it. So I basically had to rent it out for 15 years at a break even. Thankfully, it was a break even. I didn't lose a ton of money. But I held it for 15 years, and finally, about 2 years ago, I finally was able to sell it and kind of get my money back. So my first 3 investments were like that. I thought I was going to buy a house, let the market ride out just like we're in right now. We're in a market similar to this in like 2004, and we thought there was no end to it. And I would buy it and flip it and just keep making money like that. But what I didn't have was a plan B. Plan B meaning, like, what happens if I can't flip it? Can I rent it out? Well, there was no cash flow in the rent. So my first 3 investments were not good. I didn't know what I was doing back then. Then I finally learned what to do, and probably in 2010 is when I really started to invest in stuff. But I wasn't investing in stuff for rental. What I was doing was my background is in new construction. So I was working with a lot of builders, and I was making $10,000 per sale as a real estate agent, and they were making $100,000 per sale. I said, you know what, I can do the same thing they're doing, so why don't I just start doing my own projects? So I bought a lot with one of my builder clients. I said, we'll each put up half the money. We'll buy the property. I'll take care of acquisitions and sales and take me through, development with the architect and the neighbors, and you handle the construction. And then you don't charge for construction, I won't charge to sell it. We'll split everything 50-50. So we did that. We did pretty well on it. We made, we bought it for like 75 grand. It cost us 150,000 to build it.
Who was that with?
Maybe. And we sold it for 450,000 or something like that. So we did pretty well.
What year?
This was 2010 or 2009 maybe. Then we bought the lot next door, did well on that. And throughout the next year or so, we kind of bought a bunch of scattered one-off lots in Philadelphia.
How'd you find Mickey?
He was a client of mine. So basically, I listed a property for sale on Point Breeze. It was a shell for like $40,000. And I had about 30 builders and contractors call me from that listing. And I sold it like in a minute, right? But I said to them, hey, I already sold this one, but tell me what it is that you're looking for, and I can find something else for you. So, I had 30 people, whatever it was, tell me what they're looking for. And I spent the next year basically driving around the neighborhood, calling lots and shells and people that own houses, and said, would you sell, would you sell, would you sell? And I put together like 50 deals that year for all these people that called me off this one listing, finding lots and shells. And
First year you did 50 deals?
Not first year I did 50 deals, but this was like second or third year as a real estate agent. And then, I sold 50 lots and shells that year. And then the following year, it was all new construction houses. And that's kind of how, as a real estate agent, kind of things went like this one. So, bought a bunch of scattered lots and did that over the course of the next year or two. And then we got an opportunity to buy 3 lots at 1800 block of Cater Street. If you guys know, the city, if you know the city.
Grad Hospital.
Grad Hospital, Rittenhouse Square, kind of the border of that. The lots were like $600,000 for 3 lots. So $200,000 per lot, which is very cheap now, but it was expensive back then, and we didn't have that kind of money. So, I went out to some people I know, said, hey, can you put up some money for this? They put up the money for it, and we did those 3 houses, and we did pretty well on those. And I kind of teased my partners back then, saying like, hey, we're gonna buy, the 1800 block of Lombard Street was for sale. The whole block was for sale, it's a parking lot. And it was on the market on the MLS for like a year. Nobody bought it. It was listed for like $4 million. And it's still a lot of money now, but it was even a lot more money back in 2009 or 10. And I kind of teased them like, hey, we're going to buy, the whole 1800 block of Lombard after we're done this. And they're like, no, we're not doing that. Because we were buying $100,000 lots for the last couple of years. And we finished this one project and we did pretty well on it. And it was still available a year later on the MLS. Nobody would buy it for $4 million. And it was, who knows the city well? Who understands the lot? Okay, so a typical lot in the city is what? 16 foot wide, right? 16 by 50, something like that. This was 240 feet of frontage on Lombard Street by 60 feet. So it was like a 15,000 square foot lot in like prime location. So it was still available a year later. I said, we're gonna buy this. They said, all right, well, how are we gonna do that? I said, we're gonna take all the money that we made off of these properties and we're gonna roll it into that. And well, that's not gonna be enough money. I said, all right, well, let me talk to the seller and see if we can try to figure out how to like work a deal. And it sat on the market for a year and nobody was willing to buy it. So I went to the seller and said, hey, listen, I have a proposal for you. I'll pay your price, your $4 million or 3.9, whatever we ended up paying. I said, but I need to close on these in pieces. I can't close on them all at once. So here's what I'm proposing. I'm going to subdivide all these lots. I'm going to make them into 11 big, wide, 2-car garage lots. And I'm going to close on the first half of them, like once I get my zoning approval. And then basically a year after that, I'm going to close on the rest of them because at that point we'll have had these sold. And we'll take the money from that and roll it into the second half. And it was he sat on the market for a year and nobody bought him. He was like, all right, fine, I'll do it.
How wide were the houses?
What?
How wide were the houses?
They were 21 feet wide. 21 feet wide, 2-car garage. It's a product that didn't exist back then. We built a gated community because the hypothesis was I have all these people from the suburbs, from the main line, wanting to empty nesters that wanting to downsize from their 8,000 square foot houses into these 4,000 square foot houses in the city. But they didn't want to give up their suburban lifestyle, their suburban homes. They wanted a wide home. They had 2-car garage, but they wanted the coolness of being in Center City. So we designed a product for them. They wanted the safety of a gated community. So that's the product that we built. And there was young people in their 30s and 40s that didn't want to have to, that had young kids that didn't want to have to move out to the suburbs. They wanted to stay in the city, maybe send their kids to private school, but still stay in the city. So that was our demographic. So we built the product for that. And back then there was no $1 million homes in Center City. Literally, like when I started in the business, maybe like $10 million homes would sell a year. Like that's it. And so we were building 11 of these homes that we said, all right, well, we'll sell the smaller ones, the 3,000 square foot ones for $900,000. And we'll sell the big ones for $1.1 million. And we put these on the market and we ended up selling the bigger ones for like, I don't know, 1.6 million, 1.5 million, the smaller ones for over $1 million. It was like, we did well on the project.
And you lived there, right?
I did not live there.
No?
Well, I was going to build a house for myself there. Years of dealing with the neighbors. And then, I know this is not your original question, I'm just gonna keep it going. And then the whole 1900 block of Lombardy, I'm sort of doing some research, and we'll get into kind of how you find these properties. But the whole 1900 block of Lombardy, I would drive by it every single day, and it was a parking lot, and it was like a bunch of ugly multifamily buildings, and it was like it occupied the whole block, pretty much most of the block. So let me look into seeing like what the deal is with this ugly looking property. And I looked into it, and there was one lady that owned, or one entity that owned the whole parcel. It was similar size. It was over 15,000 square foot, and it had 4 multifamily buildings on it. It was a 30-unit building and a bunch of like 4-story buildings on it, and a big parking lot. And so anyway, this is some of my finest detective work ever. I'm very proud of this. It was owned by an LLC. I'm like, I gotta figure out who owns this LLC. So I went on the PA Corporation search, so you can find who owns the LLC.
Do you guys know how to do that?
Yeah.
And it referred me to another LLC. And so I found that LLC. I went on public records, and found the address of that LLC, which is registered to another LLC. And literally, there's like 10 different bouncing around LLCs until I found an address in Society Hill that was registered to an individual person. I'm like, all right, I think I got somebody. But I couldn't find any phone numbers of that person back then because some of this technology didn't exist like it does now. So I went on Google, and I went through probably 20 pages worth of Google until I found a chat group, an AOL chat group that this lady with a name, she responded to like a chat message in I don't even remember what it was called back then. It wasn't like blogs, but it was, I forget, there was like a chat room basically. And she put her phone number and her email address in this response. I'm like, gotcha. So I found her name and I sent her an email, I sent her a Facebook message, and Facebook wasn't even like a big thing. And like a week later, I said, hey, I'm interested in your property, would you be interested in selling? Something simple like that. And like a week later, she responded to my email. She had an AOL email address, and she responded to my email saying, basically like this long email, it was like 10 paragraphs long. It was like a 10 scroll email. And the gist of the email was like, you can never afford to buy my property, like don't waste my time. And I said, well, my typical response is, which I always do, I always disarm people right away, because that's what they always say, because they think when you're calling them to buy their property that you're looking to like lowball them and get a good deal. So I always disarm them right away and say, I'm willing to overpay for your property. Like I'm willing to overpay for properties. Now, I might not be willing to do that, but you say it and it disarms them right away, and then they're willing to talk to you. So she said, you're never going to be willing to pay, blah, 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 blah. I said, I'll overpay, try me, let's just see. And she threw out a number of, I forget what the number, I'm ballparking it, but $4.5 million for my property. And I had a number in mind that I was willing to pay, and it was not too far away from that price actually. And so then I knew all right, we're in the game here. So then we kind of went back and forth over email for, a week or so and said, well, I can't pay you that price, but I can pay you this. I think we're close, all this stuff. And then she said, essentially, here's my final offer. This is the price, but you have to take this other building that I own as part of the deal as well. And I was like, and it was like in University City, in this crappy location at 45th and Pine. It was like a 20,000 square foot building that looked like a castle. Like, all right, fine, I'll take it, I guess. And I wasn't doing multifamily investing back then. So that was like a big project, like a 20,000 square foot building that had 20 units in it. But I was like, all right, fine, I'll take that and I'll pay your price and we'll do it. And so we agreed on the deal, and we ended up doing 10 nice houses there that were 5,000 square foot houses. And again, we thought we were going to sell them for $1.2 million. We sold for $1.7 million. Now they're reselling on the market for $3 million now. Like, this is crazy what they're reselling for now. And we got this other building, which was kind of thrown into the deal, which that building alone was probably worth over $1 million. Like the day after I bought it, somebody offered me like $1.5 million for it. And I said, no, it was like too cool of a building. So we gutted that. And that was like my first foray into multifamily rental investing. We ended up putting a 19-unit building there, which we still have to this day. And then I'll, kind of fast forward through the story, but then after that time, we kind of had experience. We had some money. We knew what we were doing. And then I did a 48-unit project, and now I'm doing an 82-unit project. And we ended up, I built about 750 units over the course of the last 10 years, mostly in and around Center City. So, it originally started as single-family homes, and then it sort of went into single-family homes plus some multifamily. And now, I've shifted a lot more into multifamily investing. I'm more of a cash flow investor now. I did build 22 homes last year that I sold, but mostly I'm doing rental multifamily buildings at this point for cash flow investing. So I'm not going to win with some
No, it's
stories.
good. So I know the answers, but we're not going to.
Yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
Cheltenham.
Okay, and then, so you lived in Cheltenham, you moved to Florida.
Yeah, I went to Penn State.
Penn State. Yeah.
Who would?
Good game.
Who would? Who was that? Who come from? There you go.
Good game.
What's the
Very
game?
good game. And then moved to Philly.
moved to Florida for 3 years, worked for Toll Brothers, worked for Sentex Homes as a project manager for them. Once we had our first baby in 2006, we moved back to Philly, moved into this like up and coming neighborhood called Graduate Hospital. We moved into like basically 16th and Bainbridge when it was like all lots and shells back then.
Is that when you were Brian Walters' neighbor?
Yeah, 2 doors down.
Yeah, so Brian, tall guy, comes in here.
And then does some classes. So you met Brian as your neighbor. Yep. And you got the real estate, you built a big team called Philly Living.
Yep.
And then ballpark, what, like 150 plus million dollars a year in sales, somewhere in that range.
On average, every year's more than that, but yeah.
And then you started investing in this crazy idea you wanted to start a Keller Williams in the city, which was called Keller Williams Philly.
Yep, 2016, we started KW Philly.
Yeah. And then main line was in 2020, right?
Yep.
And then you've expanded also to Florida.
Yep, 6 brokers in Florida.
In Florida. So you've scaled out. You've done a couple of different things. On the investing side, one of the questions out there people are asking is, if you were a newer investor, would you start with multifamily or single homes?
I think you have to figure out what your business model is. I know a lot of people that are very successful in investing in single family homes, and they own a lot of them, and they do very well with it. Me personally, I like multifamily because, if you have a 5-unit building and 1 unit is vacant, you still have, 80% of the building that you're collecting rent off of. If you have a single family home that's vacant, you get zero money. So I think there's economies of scale in having, one building with multiple doors to it. We can talk a little bit more about that, but that's just my strategy. But I think you have to figure out what your strategy is going to be, what you feel comfortable with, what you want to do, and then just kind of go all in on that thing.
So let's talk about the first step. We think there's 3 major steps, and we're going to fill it in on based on what people said. How to find deals, how to find the money, and the GC. What would be some ways you talk about how to find deals?
All right, so let me ask you a couple of questions. Mostly real estate agents in here, right? All real estate agents pretty much?
Yeah.
So when you are looking for deals for your clients, right now, for your investment clients, where do you find them? I'm going to answer the question as hypothetical. Where do you find them? You look on the MLS, you maybe talk to wholesalers, right? That's like kind of the majority of it. Well, the wholesalers are doing basically what you should be doing, right? You should be out going and finding stuff. So I guess the question I ask people is, if you were looking for a house, I'll ask you, if you were looking for, you just bought a house down the shore, recently, right? You wanted to live in a certain location down the shore. So if you want to buy a house for yourself down the shore, and you knew what area you want to be in, I'm going to answer for you, but what do you do? I'll answer for you. You go around and you figure out where you want to be, and you call people. You're not going to, like, I bought a house down the shore 2 years ago during COVID. I knew exactly where I wanted to be, and I knew the location. I literally just picked up the phone. I called everybody in like a 3-block radius. Hey, would you sell? Would you sell? Would you sell? Would you sell? And finally somebody said, I'll sell. And I bought their house. So I pretend like it's my own property.
So if you guys don't know where to get those phone numbers and searching sites, I have 10. Grab me after this meeting. I can show you some ways where you can find those phone numbers. Okay? So that's the answer to that. How about doors?
What do you mean?
Did you knock on any doors?
Yeah, so you go around, you identify what it is you're looking for, right? That's the first thing, is identifying what it is that you want. And then you go out and you contact those people. So the question, how do you get those numbers? We'll get into that, but you just go out and you contact them. So you go on public records, you can knock on doors, you can send them letters, you can email and text them if you can find their phone numbers. You can sort of figure out if other people know them. If it was listed by another real estate agent before, you can contact that real estate agent and say, hey, do you want to put a deal together? I go out and I try to find my own. The majority of the deals I have found myself by just picking up the phone and seeing if somebody's willing to sell. I bought maybe 1 or 2 deals off of wholesalers. I bought a couple deals off of other real estate agents that have brought me deals. I have different sources for how I do it. I don't think I've ever bought anything off the MLS. How often do you search on the MLS for homes?
Every day.
We're not talking about homes, right? We're talking about investment properties.
How often do you search?
I used to go on every day, not for investment properties though. I never found a deal on the MLS.
How often do you search now for investment properties in MLS? Do you go on?
No, never.
I don't either. So I might look at it like once in a blue moon.
I kind of go through ups and downs in terms of, like, I have enough projects on my plate right now, but every time I put out into the world, like, hey, I'm looking for deals, the deals come in more, like, a lot of them come in.
So when the market shifts, I find I go in the MLS more because I look at houses when the market's 60 or 90 days or longer. But on hot markets, I don't want to compete versus 10 other people. Add this part of the short home, we just got a short home, got our contract, we have inspection this Friday, it was a door knock. And it was from a door hanger. My brother almost got hit by the car that we're gonna buy the house from, and he lives next door, right hand, and we just did a deal where I have the right to buy the left-hand side. I buy the right-hand side now, left-hand side, got seller financing done. This deal would have never got done if I didn't deal with him directly. Like, if the thing ever got listed, I would have never got this deal. Andrew said it's the hardest deal I've ever seen, and we're getting it because of you. I said, thank you, because you're a better realtor than me. But that's not the point, is the reason why we got it was we went direct. So think about that. Doors, phones, and I'll tell you what, the door thing that worked was, one of the things we did in the doors, we used Aaron, and we got a flyer made up. There's a picture of me, Tanner, and Alexa. It's in my office. You want to see it, you can rip it off, use it. And it literally just says very simply, my family's looking to buy a house in Cape May. And something on the back, very, very simple.
What do you think the discount is, like, when you're getting deals off market? Are you getting them like 10, 20% off? What do you think they would sell for on like the MLS?
See, I think that's a mistake, that's a mindset mistake. You're looking for like discounts, I'm looking for deals. So if I can make money off a deal, what's the difference how much of a discount you can get off of it? I have my metric of like what I'm willing to pay. So let me take it back. So when I used to buy lots, let's say the lot next door sold for 70 grand. And then there's somebody that wants 100,000 for their lot. Well, I would talk to everybody in this room and say, well, why would you pay 100 grand if the lot next door sold for 70 grand? I'm like, well, if you can make $100,000 off this lot, what's the difference if it's 100 grand, right? So I look at how much money you can make off of something, not necessarily what the comps are. I don't pay that much attention to the comps when I'm buying investment property. I look at how much money I can make off of whether it's a flip or whether it's a rental for cash flow. That's how I look at it. I think the mistake a lot of people make is like trying to look at comps and say, well, I'm not going to pay that price because that's not what the next door neighbor, who cares about that?
If you asked investors about regrets, one of the things would say, I should have bought that. And when they base it on comps, a lot of times that was the reasons.
I have regrets.
Yeah.
I still remember 2 deals that I regret that I didn't buy, and then I over-negotiated them. There's a couple times I over-negotiated some deals. There was one deal that I tried to buy in Fishtown. It was probably like a 20,000 square foot lot that I could have, on Frankfurt, like the 1400 block of Frankfurt Avenue, if you know that's like a good location. I could have bought it for like 600 grand. And they wanted, I was offering 575. And I was like, I'm not paying more, because I didn't think anybody else was negotiating with me. I thought I had this all by myself. Then all of a sudden somebody else came along and swooped it up, and I could have got it, and I was stupid, and I regret it. And it was worth over $1 million at the time, but I was being stupid. And I had a similar situation basically on the other side of the block on Frankfurt Avenue. Now there's these big like 50-unit buildings with Starbucks and like, you know, I think actually one of the Keller Williams offices in one of the buildings now. But like I was stupid. I over negotiated it because I was whatever. So you definitely have your regrets sometimes too. Just get the deal done if you can get the deal done.
Yep. Phones, doors, direct mail.
Commercial brokers bring me deals sometimes now. It took me years to get commercial brokers to send me deals because they didn't want to send me deals because they wanted to double pop it, and they thought by sending it to me as a real estate agent that I would send it to my clients. It took a lot of years of building up trust with them, letting them know I wasn't.
Did they make you sign anything?
Yep,
Yeah.
I was, and letting them know that I was the principal, that I was going to buy it, and they could take all the commission.
Make sure you bring it up to other realtors, so you guys know that. Let other realtors know that they can be the realtor if you're trying to buy something for yourself. I get investment properties that way, where I tell people I don't want to be the listing agent or the buyer's agent. You get paid on both sides.
People are willing to sell stuff. You don't know people's situations. You don't know if they need the money. You don't know if they're just tired of managing the properties. You don't know what their situations are. So if you have to identify what you're looking for and then just go out and get that.
It's not the net. You just dropped the golden nugget. So what what I see some people doing in the industry right now, and if you ask me what I have doing with Tantra or the people I coach, is I'm not calling a ton of FSBOs right now. I'm not calling a ton of expireds. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm going after people right now that no one's going after. This shore house never had a for sale sign on it, right? But if if it did, I would have never had a shot. It's ironic, the one that I found was the one on the MLS. It wasn't on for sale, right? So think about that. When you guys are prospecting right now and you're working, when you just shed, whatever's not for sale is actually for sale.
Who owns the house in this room? Okay. Do you like your house?
I have it as an investment property now.
Yeah.
So it's right now.
Okay.
Okay.
But I love it, I do love it.
But you love it, right? It's like a great property. I think you're talking about it. I love it. So if I came to you and said, hey, would you sell it? You're like, I don't know. But then if I say, hey, would you sell it for $10 million? You'd probably say, yes, you'd seriously think about it, right? So everybody's got their price, right? I mean, 10 million is like an extreme example, but everybody has their price of what they're willing to sell it for. Even if they love their house and it's great and it's putting on a lot of money, you know, they may have bought it for $100,000. You might be offering them $500,000, and that's, you know, that's a big windfall for them. So, you know, don't assume that they're not going to sell. Just go make offers, you know, make good offers. Don't lowball people. You're not going to make deals by lowballing people. But make deals that are fair, and you're going to get more deals by doing that.
You guys all have strengths and weaknesses, right? Want to know what strengths is? He honestly doesn't pay attention to what you said. So in this example, if you put an offer in on a so the property's not for sale.
You said I don't pay attention to what people say.
Yeah.
That's a strength.
Yeah. No, not in all cases. In this case, in other cases, no. But in this case, yes. Why I'm saying that is the property was never for sale, right? So in his mind, everything has a price on the investment property, right? So he puts an offer in. If they come back on that number, right, he knows that he can at least work with them. He doesn't get stuck on their number. If you ever talk to him on the investment property side, he really just figures out, like, can he make the deal work? It's not how cheap I can get it. So keep that, guys, in mind. You brought that up earlier. I want you to realize that one of the best takeaways you can take today is everything is what?
For sale.
Okay. And if they tell you what? No, what does that mean? Just not yet. So stay consistent on these, and some of these deals, no, did they happen the first time? This is a strength. You put a deal in, you put the big one on Washington, they might have said yes or no. How many times did you have to go back and forth on that deal?
Which one?
On Washington, the one you're building now?
That one was a little different situation. That one, I reached out to a guy that owned it, said, would you sell it? And he said, I want $5 million for it. I said, he said, but you need to close in 30 days. I'm like, well, I can't come up with $5 million in 30 days. He's like, and $5 million was a good price for it. Like, that's a lot of money, but it was a good price for, this was an acre and a half in Center City. So this is a lot. This is a big piece. It was like 50,000 square feet or something like that. I said, I can't come up with $5 million in 30 days. And he said, well, what if I were to do owner financing on it for you? Like, what if you could come up with like, you know, $1 million or something like that, and I'll owner finance. I'm like, well, I can't come up with $1 million in 30 days. He's like, what about, you know, 700,000? Like, no, I can't do that. He said, what about 500,000? No, I can't do that. He said, all right, well, what can you do? I'm like, I can come up with $250,000 in 30 days. He's like, all right, $250,000. I'll finance the rest of it at like a 4% interest rate. This was a few years ago. And you just need to like sort of find a bank to take me out within like a year. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we did.
See what I'm saying? On my deal, 5 years, the guy took the note. I got him to do 4%, saves me $2,200 a month. Once again, like they're willing to work. And both these, ironically, I find that if they're not on the market, they're easier to work with. It's weird. Like a lot of the properties I bought, the easiest one to get a deal done is the person's not on the market. They could walk back and forth. So, all right, so now we talked about opportunities you can buy. Now the money, where are you getting money from? What's some ideas that you get people to find money?
If I'm with investing, it's about two big things. It's about knowledge and it's about the money, right? Number one, you have to understand what to do and how to do it. Once you understand that, you can do anything, right? I started off with one house, then I did some multifamily, then I did some bigger things. I feel like there's nothing I can't do now. Like even if I wanted to do a high rise, I could probably do that because I have enough knowledge to be able to do that. It's different than what I'm normally doing, but it's still kind of the same. So you get the knowledge and then, some confidence in your abilities, or surrounding yourself with people that have more knowledge than you do on certain things. And then it's about, either having the money or being able to find the money. So if you have the money, like in the beginning, you may not have the money. So you start small, you do one, maybe you do a couple. And then if you need more money, people will be attracted to good deals. If I brought Jeremy a really good deal, I mean, he had some extra money sitting around, and I brought him a really good deal and said, hey, I got this great deal. Can you put up X amount of dollars for it? And if he had the money, he would probably do it if it was a great deal. So if you have a great deal, there's always people out there that are willing to put money into these deals. You guys have something that a lot of people don't have. You have the time, right? You have the time to go out and find these deals, to source them, maybe do some other work. Well, who's got money but doesn't have time? Maybe doctors, maybe lawyers, maybe, people that have money that don't have the time or the resources to go out and scout properties or manage these sites and stuff like that, but they want to invest. You need somebody like you that's going to go out and do the work. So if you find the deals, you can go out and get the money from other people. Once you have the money, then you're going to make money, and then eventually, if you want, you can start putting your own money in. I've, other than a couple projects, pretty much just put my own money in deals. I never really bit off more than I could handle myself, and I never, not purposely. I haven't really purposefully overextended myself with time or money. I usually, what I try to do is when I have a project coming to completion, that's when I'll close on the next one. So right now, I have a couple 100,000 square feet of stuff that I'm building, probably over 100 units that I'm building right now. I have about 18 months worth of inventory that I have under construction right now. So right now, I'm not looking for a project to start now, but I'm looking for another big project that in 9 months from now, I can close on and start going. So I'm looking for stuff in the future for right now.
In years, 5 to 10 units, right? So you can go 100, you can go 1, you can go 2. It's the same thing. In your case, you want to scale from 5 to 10. You have to get better at finding deals, right? And then financing the deal and then having a GC. But yours should be, Jerry, I need to get 2 or 3. And once you get to 2 or 3 in a contract, flip the one, take that money from that to buy the other 2. So what you guys learn is when you buy a property, if you need to find more capital, if you can flip something on average, how much can you make on a flip? What would you say on the average? What's the average flip you're gonna make?
35%.
So income wise, 35, I like 30, 35, but what dollar amount? 70 grand?
Depends on where it is.
Okay, it depends where it's at. But good number, I would say, for where you guys are at, on average, I see 70 grand. You pay how much taxes on 70 grand? Depends on your tax bracket. Depends if you flip it before a year or not. Let's say in this case, you pay $20,000 in taxes on it, you have 50 grand. With that 50 grand you just flip, now what can you go do?
Put it down on something else.
Now do what?
Put it down on something else.
Yes, and on that one, are you gonna flip or buy a rental? Depends on your plan. But a lot of times you'll see people flip some properties to get income to buy rental. And someone asks the second question, should I buy, hold, or flip? Depends on your money situation. I just personally, him and I have been around a decent amount of investors. A lot of people don't get super, super wealthy on just flipping all day.
So what I'll say to that is my strategy for that is 3-tier. Number 1, my job is as a real estate agent, right? I go out, not as much anymore, but I go out and I sell houses and I make money off of being a real estate agent. I take that money and I roll that into my development stuff, my flips, where I make the bigger chunks of money, right? And then I take that money from the flips and I roll that into the long-term wealth building stuff, the passive income, which are the rental properties. You have to have at least one of those other things. 2 is better, but if you have one of those other sources, it's better because with the rental properties, for the most part, you're putting that money in, you're not getting it back in chunks, right? So you put it in and it stays, and maybe you can refinance, but probably not at this point with the interest rates. Pull cash out. I don't pull cash out. So you have to have a source of income, or else you put your money in a property and then you run out of money. At some point, you run out of money. So you have more income sources you can keep feeding the beast. And at some point, the goal is to have wealth building is having $1 more passive income than you have in personal expenses. So you can have the freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do it, right? And eventually, if you have enough passive income, then you have enough money coming in, more than your living expenses, that you have excess money that you can keep rolling into more deals. That's the ultimate goal we're going to get to.
So does that make sense on flip versus rental? Flip to get your passive income to buy other rentals. But if you just live in that flipping income forever, you're doing what? It's another job.
It's so much time.
Also, at some point, if you do well enough on your flips, you have a lot of money in the bank. You don't want money just sitting in the bank, because that money's kind of dead money. You don't make money on that money, but you want to invest in that money. Well, what would you want to invest in? You probably want to invest in maybe multifamily stuff. So, well, why do I want to keep doing flips to then make money to invest in multifamily when I can just build the multifamily, right? So that was a shift for me at some point. You have a certain amount of money in the bank that you want to reinvest, but rather than like keeping that cycle going, I would just take the money and kind of skip one step and just go straight to the investing in the stuff that I would have, building the stuff that I would have invested in anyway.
Make sense? All right, so next thing I want to lead into is cash flow. So we're talking about holds and flips. Cash flow, there's 4 benefits to owning real estate. You guys ready? Cash flow. What's the second one?
Appreciation.
How much?
Appreciation.
Appreciation. How do you guys figure out appreciation? What would you type in the internet to figure out appreciation? Appreciation calculator. Who in this room right now has an appreciation calculator saved on their computer? That's what I find when I meet those people. Something you need to learn relatively like this year, like definitely start doing that. Why is that? How are you teaching a person investment if you don't have the appreciation calculator in there? What's a normal appreciation?
3 to 5%.
What is it?
3 to 4%.
Yep. So how can you, so what's gonna happen, the market's shifting, you need to understand like appreciation, what is a normal appreciation? Appreciation calculator, what's another thing? So we said cash flow, appreciation, what else?
Tax ratio.
Appreciation.
Huh?
Depreciation.
Depreciation, yep.
That's debt paid down.
So depreciation is number 3. What is the percentage you normally can depreciate, you guys know? 3.5%, right? Ballpark? 3.6.
One, it's
Base
127.
Yeah, so base 3.5, 3.6. So what that does is it.
There's accelerated
Yeah,
depreciation.
accelerated depreciation, a whole other story, right? Those who are just doing long-term appreciation, but in this case, appreciation, that allows you to pay what now? Less what?
Taxes.
Taxes, right? So that's something you need to learn. So if you want to learn that depreciation, you should have that depreciation calculator, write that down. That's something I'll be studying in 2023. And what's the last one? Noah dropped it. It's my favorite one. Not a lot of people talk about it.
Principal pay down.
Yeah, principal pay down. Who is your tenant? Just what you guys read. Don't ever call them your tenant.
Customer.
Yeah, they're your customer and they're doing what?
Paying
Paying
their
mortgage
mortgage.
for you.
Okay. And on average, what does your customer pay of your mortgage every month? Anybody know?
Equity.
How much money per month? On an average deal, 300,
500.
300,000, huh?
3 to 500.
Yeah, I would say it's 7. So 700 a month. And how do I know that? Amortization calculator. An amortization calculator, write that down. You need to study that in 2023 is you look at principal, you look at interest. The first 10 years is what? Mostly what? Interest, right? And then chunks of principal keeps on getting paid down. Every time I buy an investment property, it's 700 here for principal pay down, 700 towards depreciation, 500 cash flow, and then of course pay down the debt. All 4 things. So there's a deal in Linwood I bought that everybody was looking at. I tried to sell it in the office, couldn't sell it to anybody. Thank God no one brought me a good deal, right? It wasn't you guys, like no investor saw it, how I saw it. I'm in it for 3 and change, it's worth 700, right, roughly. The one on Eric, where's Dave? That one on Linwood, right?
Yeah.
But my benefit per month is $3,700 a month. Everybody just looked at the cash flow, but you add up all 4 principles. Here's the books that you should read, and we're getting the next thing with Noah. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Everything we just discussed are in these books. Real estate tax advantages and real estate tax loopholes. Real estate tax advantages and tax loopholes have made me more money than any rah-rah book I love, and you guys know I love rah-rah books. Okay? Real estate tax loopholes and tax advantages. Where would you get those books? On Amazon? Robert Kiyosaki's company wrote it. Robert Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. He didn't write these. They took his name and used it. And don't get caught on the people's names. There's a third one. If you want to go to sleep at night, this will make you very wealthy. Tax-free wealth. It's the third book I recommend of the
7,000 plus what I met at this point, then comes back and be like, Jared, I'm so glad you freaking recommend it. Tax-free wealth. Okay, that's 3 books. 2 more books, we'll go back to Noah. Banker's Code and Wealth Code. George something, draw a blank, doesn't matter, you put it on Google, it comes up. Banker's Code, Wealth Code, Dan Zitowski recommended that, and I got that from Evans's group. That's a lot of guys recommended those. There's 5 really good books for 2023 I would read to understand the investing side, okay? So now let's go back to Noah, is contractors. We talked about how to find deals. We talked about money. Contractors, what would you recommend contractor-wise, how to find contractors?
Actually, before we jump in there, I just wanna, talk about like why we invest, right? So you have to have a reason why you want to invest. So for me, I talked about, having the freedom, right? Like work-life balance and lifestyle is very important to me. So my goal is to have enough passive income by the time my kids go to college that I could do more traveling and have enough money coming in that I don't have to like worry about having a job every single day. So you have to understand why you're investing and what it will do for your lifestyle. If you're just constantly working your ass off as a real estate agent and as an investor and as a contractor and like doing all these things, but you can't actually enjoy your life, then it's not worth it. For me, I'm doing it so I can have a better like work-life balance and a better lifestyle. I think that's an important thing to mention.
Why are you doing all this?
Yeah.
So contractor-wise, what would you recommend? You have one main, yours is like weird, dude. Like you're like unique, like that seldom doesn't work the way it does with you, right? Your Mickey relationship and how you guys do it, I don't see too many working that way. He has one GC, that's his business partner.
We are the
GC.
contractors. We are.
And that was the guy originally, what did he say? How did he find him? He was paying attention to the client, right?
Yeah.
Right?
There's a client.
That was a client. So that's one. Be careful. I don't think that's the norm. I tried doing it. GC's partnered up with me. I never really did well on it. And the reason why is they always went and did projects to make money. And then my project was towards the end and I lost money or I broke even on it. So like that is, I think, a unique, right? Not a normal one. GCs, where can you find them? Ask your clients. Facebook's the easiest one I find. I just post on Facebook. People always think like, oh, Jerry, you know everybody. Western PA. I just post on Facebook. GCs will come in. Third is drive around areas and introduce yourself. Like in Cape May, I ride my bike, my wife's like, oh my God, here we go again. Jeremy's gonna talk to our contractor. I wanna meet the guys that are working Saturday morning. They're freaking laying the floors and working their tail off. Well, some other people were drinking beer and fishing. Like that's how I really weed out who's working. Like my guys, like Saturday, they're working.
How did you figure out how to pay your GC if they're not your partner?
How do you pay your GC?
Like, do you give them like a flat rate or is it a percentage of the project?
So I did the flat rates, I got burned, because once again, and multiple people have told me, some are in this group, some are not, is the GC's gonna take their time. And I found that some GCs wanna do that, A, because they can't understand money, and they don't wanna quote you, because they stink at quoting, so that's option one, why they can do that. 2 is, they think it's a win-win, it's not, because the longer they work, what do they get paid?
Less money.
No, the longer they work, what do they get paid? They get paid more if you pay them hourly and they don't give you a quote. I like the quote, and they gotta get it done on time, the budget. And I have a range in there, a 10% budget range that I know that if you tell me 150, I know it's not 150, it's gonna be 165. 200 is gonna be 220. So build a budget. I personally don't like when someone says pay me hourly. I see it, there's no benefit to them getting done early.
Have you ever?
There's a percentage. A lot of GCs will charge you a percentage of the budget, so 12 to 18% over the budget. So if the budget's 100, using round numbers, 100 grand, you pay them 12 to 18% of that.
Okay. Have you ever, I guess this is personal, like have you ever bonused a GC for their work?
Yeah. Yeah, the bonus is to finish on time.
Have you bonused financially, like
Yeah,
monetarily?
no, that is the bonus for them. If you finish by this date, we'll give you X amount of dollars.
So
That's how we do it. So then they're incentivized to get it done on time.
what you give on top or just the number?
I've done one project with outside GC when I built a 6-story building years ago before I knew what I was doing, and I had to hire a GC to do it. And we had a price for them, and we said, hey, if you finish it by this date that we mutually agree on, that you can I'm not just making up a date. I said, when do you think you can finish this by? They said January 2023. Great. If you finish it by January 2023, I'll also give you a $50,000 bonus for finishing by that day. So they're incentivized to stay on schedule.
It's a newer thing I'm hearing from some people that are paying it. I personally don't. Next one, property manager. I just think it depends on the size of your business. Like some people say I need a property manager. I believe some people go way too quick to property management. He owns a property management company. I think there's a number in there that you can manage yourself, but you might say something different.
I think it's a matter of what you want. I mean, I used to manage my own properties, like literally myself, for my first couple of buildings until I got a phone call at like 10:30 one night from a tenant that says that the gas company's here and they need to get into this building. If you don't come in like 20 minutes, they're kicking the door down. The next morning, I hired a property manager. I don't want to deal with those calls. So I hired someone to work for me as my property manager. And I did that for a number of years. I sort of added people as we got more units. And then I bought a property management company a couple of years ago. Now we manage our own stuff with that crew. But if you want to take those phone calls yourself, sure, you can save yourself a few dollars, but you have to deal with all those calls at all times of the day and night. You don't get any time off. I don't want to do that. I'd rather spend a little bit of my, you trade time for money or money for time. I chose to trade money for time for the situation.
So the next one I think leads into what he just said, which I think is one of the worst mistakes you could ever make in investing. And I see it in the real estate business. I see it's the most coaching realtors. You know what it is up on that board? It's the number one thing I see is the biggest mistake. Being the GC, okay? Like I that part I just cringe when I see it, because what we don't realize as humans is when I'm being the GC, my house sales go down. When my house sales go up, then I'm a GC. You can't stay consistent. Right, so like if you're doing X amount of houses per year and you're trying to manage your projects, what's your biggest challenge? It starts with T, what is it? Time. But you don't see it, but 6 months later, you don't see it. Me personally, originally I would go to Home Depot and meet my contractor and pay the credit card because he couldn't manage money. He would take the stuff out, I paid him hourly, and then the projects went okay. As soon as I switched to finding a good person, holding to a quote, having my expectation meeting once a week at a construction site, my money changed and my other businesses went up. So being your own GC, I personally say stay away from it. What would you say?
100% agree. 100% agree. If that's your only business, sure, you can do it and save money. But most of you guys are real estate agents in this room, and by spending all your time doing that, your sales business is going to go down. Then are you really saving yourself any money?
Find good GCs. How are you gonna find a good GC? Who's paying? See what you're saying?
Facebook.
Facebook, who you want? What's another one?
Go out and meet them.
Go out and meet them. What's the best day to go meet a GC?
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday mornings, right? And then construction sites you have respect. This is something that we saw in Philly a lot over the years is go meet the contractors, go meet the builders in the morning. How many people go as a realtor, go meet the builder, right? Go meet the contractor at 7 and 8:30. You want their respect, take coffee. Take water in the summertime, right? They're not used to salespeople really going over there in the morning. Like physically go meet them. What's timing wise right now? Should you be buying?
I think there's opportunities in any market. We're kind of in like a weird time right now where sellers still want this and buyers are still willing to pay this. You're probably seeing that in the real estate business. Over the last month or so, I'm seeing more deals cross my plate than before, but they're still not at the right price yet. I think over the next 6 months, you're going to see more deals, and I think they're going to come down. I think there's going to be a huge buying opportunity over the next 12 months. So I would, keep some cash on hand and be ready when the opportunity comes. Constantly be looking. When you're a real estate investor, you have to always be shopping, but not always be buying. Right? If you're only looking for at very short periods of time, you're not looking at enough deals, so you don't really know what a good deal is when one comes along. But if you're constantly looking and you're ready and you're knowledgeable, then when a good deal comes along, you can jump on it quickly. But you have to constantly be shopping and then buying when the opportunity comes up. Yeah.
Do you use any tools that you have in your back pocket to negotiate a deal? For example, just being like, oh, you would be charged a 6% commission, but I could charge you 3% off market that you would, you would have lost on closing costs anyway.
If you need to get down to the nitty gritty like that, a lot of times I just ask them what they want. And sometimes I try to get them to throw the first number out. Very rarely is it the right number. And then I just show them my analysis. I'm very transparent about that. Like if it's a multifamily property, I say, look, here's how we analyze the property. Here's how many units we can get. Here's what it's going to cost to build or rehab. Here's what the rent is going to be. Like if I paid your price, I would lose money. I just want you to understand how people value this. Any investor is going to look at it pretty much the same way that I'm looking at it, but I want you to have the knowledge. So sometimes by educating them, it helps them understand like that their price is just kind of pull out of their ass, and you wouldn't tell them really how to do it. Same thing with when I'm doing flips. Hey, here's my analysis. Here's what's going to cost me to build. Here's how much profit I'm going to make off of this. Here's what I can pay. And you're transparent about it. Like, I'm not going to do this not to make a profit. And sometimes by being open with them about it, it helps them come down to the price. If you get down to the nitty gritty of like, if you're really close, hey, I can save you money on the commission and stuff like that, sure. Yeah.
That makes sense? It starts with E, what they just dropped the gold nugget, what's it called? Education, I call it the evidence package. So when you guys are listing a house, you need to have evidence why it's priced that where the market's going. When you're going to buy an investment property, the guy who just bought the shore house was evidence. I showed him square foots, I showed him the houses, I showed him all the data, and I said it's very key, powerful word. You know what it is? No one wants a discount. Everybody wants a win-win. So use that line. I want a win-win.
I'm just looking for a fair price. I'm not looking to steal the house. I'm not looking, to low ball you. I'm just looking for a fair price. That's all.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
That's approach. Location-wise, what do you think location-wise?
I like to buy properties that I can walk to from my house.
Well, interesting things that.
Because I like to check on my properties every day, so I sort of walk to the office every day, and I kind of take the path of looking at all my properties as I do this. I can see what's going on, what's under construction, if something needs to be fixed or whatever, or if there's trash around, I just do that. Every time I think I want to buy something outside of my walking path, I end up flipping. Like I bought a couple things in Fishtown, and I ended up taking them through zoning. I'm like, I don't want to drive 30 minutes every day to go see this. I'll just resell it to somebody else. I find that works best for me.
Gold nugget tip. I took this from hanging out with him for years. We bought real estate together. Was not all you're gonna be able to walk, right? You don't live in the city, but around here, like where I buy today, my life's so much less stressful. Is I buy where I'm at. Mainline I buy right now. I buy Conchi. I buy Bluebell. I do this little L. So anywhere I can just pop within 15, 20 minutes, right? Is walkable in the city.
Also, I like to have stuff in a concentrated area. So I have, over 100 units in like a very small concentrated area in Graduate Hospital. And my units are pretty nice. I do like nicer stuff. So when I list my stuff for rent, 80% of the inventory is my inventory. I can control the pricing on that stuff too. And I have enough concentrated inventory. I control the pricing. So I can ask what I want for stuff.
So someone taught us this tip back in the day, it was Alan Dahm actually, is if you can buy on the same street, it's okay to overpay. Alan Dahm, one of his lines, I'll never forget from a class, I never overpaid for anything in Rittenhouse Square. And then he kind of talks about it, he's like, I definitely did, but it always catches himself. Like for me on the streets in Conchi, there's like multiple streets, I keep on controlling the rent on that street. So if you guys can take advantage of it, you're buying one, but you're going to 10 for 5, if you can buy anything on that street, remember you can control that street more. Okay. What's tenants don't pay? Yep.
Everybody turns on. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
No, I saw this question. I live in down area, and I had this client that has 2 single family zone properties, and he tried to get variance twice for each of their properties, and we just always pretty much hit a brick wall. But there's developers now ungodly in Mount Airy that seem like they have big developers that have no issues. Like, what would you say is a hurdle in terms of trying to get variance changes?
It used to be very easy. I used to go for variances on everything pretty much because, you go to the zoning board and they pretty much would approve everything. But over the last few years, that's changed a lot. And you could go through a zoning process with the neighbors for 9 months and get shut down at the zoning board. And I just can't stomach that anymore, so most of the stuff I do is buy right now, so I only buy stuff I can do buy right without having to go through zoning, because it's just so unpredictable at the ZBA now. You get, like, two people could go with similar projects, and one would get approved and one would not. And it depends on the time of day you have, it depends on if you're at the beginning of the meeting or the end of the meeting, it depends if there was like a negative, project that went before yours, that's like controlling the
Depends on if you
narrative.
have a lawyer that knows the zoning a little bit.
Yep, it's very, very unpredictable at this point. So my answer is like, it could go either way. It depends on how much you can stomach going through that process with a lot of uncertainty. I couldn't take the uncertainty of it. I needed when I bought something, I needed the guarantee of knowing that this project's gonna happen.
Next one's mindset,
There's
life.
a question here.
Where's that?
I, just to piggyback off of that, so the by right, how do you find out what the by right use is?
So you have to know the zoning code, but the zoning code is basically like an online book. It's if you Google AM Legal, I think it's amlegal.com, and I think you want to go to chapter 13, which is in Philadelphia, it's the Philadelphia zoning code. But no matter where you're building stuff, like every municipality has a zoning and building code book online. So like I'm doing something down shore now in Margate, and I didn't know the codes down there, so I had to go online and figure out what the codes are. You study them, and you learn about the heights and density and what you can and can't do. You basically just read it. I mean, I read the Philadelphia zoning code probably 4 times. It's definitely very boring. And it takes you hours and hours to read it, but I read it so much that I know it like the back of my hand now that I just understand stuff.
E-codes in the burbs is good, E-codes, that'll connect you to a lot of the local townships. I had to figure it out for Linwood, Conshohocken, different areas. You'll sometimes have to go down to the municipality. I find that I hire a really good architect that kind of actually knows the zoning. I'm doing really well in Conchi on this one right now. This referral from Facebook post that from another realtor gave me. And then they did the little slide comment, hey, I don't want everybody to know this. If this is the person to talk to, a lot of times that happens, is that person knows the zoning very, very well.
Architect or zoning attorney?
Yep.
So,
Brother,
so if you figure out that whatever you purchased is by right, it can be do you have to do anything else, or you just?
You still have to apply for a zoning permit, but it's what they call over the counter, meaning like you apply and you get the approval, as opposed to you applying and getting a refusal and then having to apply for a variance. You won't need a variance for by right, but you still have to apply for the zoning permit and get the permit, but it's issued to you instead of being a denial.
But in each city, there's a website, you can just go on, it'll tell you what that particular property is, so.
Phil.gov is another one that I
Yeah, public records, public
Yeah,
records.
well, I know like how to find it, but I don't know how to find the by right.
Yeah, once you start to get that and you don't have that much experience on doing that, I think you gotta lean more on an architect attorney and pay some money to do it. Otherwise, you're just gonna do it. So let's wrap up a little bit, if you guys don't mind, and I wanna see if you guys, what was your takeaway? So this side of the room, what was some of your takeaways from today?
It's better to be proactive when searching for properties to purchase, so reaching out to people who don't necessarily have for sale signs, kind of generating demand.
Don't look for a discount, look for a deal. I think a lot of people want to become investors, they're looking to like steal a house and like make a lot of money. It's not necessarily the best deal. Get it at a discount.
You raised your hand, didn't you?
Yeah.
Rick?
I guess just how to get the money without refinancing a house or investment property that you already have, without taking cash out, asking the non-busy people.
We didn't dive deep into that, but one of the things you should have in your back pocket is 5 people with money. You should know what bank you can get money from, what person. I'll give you a bonus session, because we're running out of time today, but at 12:30, we're gonna talk about 5 things to get your 2023 set off straight. I'll go over a little bit of financing with you guys, what banks where you can get money from right now, where you can get it from wealthy family members. I'll add that if you guys want. If you're sticking around for 12:30, we'll grab food, come back in here. Before the 12:30, I can go over that with you.
What about over here? What's some other things you guys learned? We'll go to this side.
Analyze what you want to save, whether you want to flip, you want to resell, you want to have rentals.
Yep.
Except what you want to save and then move on towards that goal.
Yep, 100%.
And the other thing is everything is for sale, it's not yet, perhaps, at some point it's gonna be sold.
Find the books that we should be reading on tax advantages
Yeah.
and tax loopholes.
Yeah. Yeah. Boring books, they make you money. Back group, the grandstand, not grandstand, what's it, the bleacher seats?
You know, Kelly?
Yeah, Pay big bucks for these front ones.
Stack cash now, and just constantly be looking, keep your eyes out, it's out there.
How about this side?
Dishonoring the person by saying I'm willing to overpay for your property.
Well,
Just put the time in, like you didn't just get to where you're at by not putting the time in.
that's number 10, which we didn't, I think is the last one we're gonna go to is, if you notice certain people who buy a lot of real estate or buy real estate, they separate their time. I'm an investor now, I'm a realtor then. You gotta have time in your week that you're hunting. If you don't, you're just relying on deals.
You have one on your stream here.
From CBS?
This one from our CBS users. Yes, absolutely. I learned that you need to use your money to make more money, educate yourself, and know that everything is for sale.
Good, you multiply your wealth. You sell real estate to make a living, you build your wealth owning it. Multiply that money. What else?
I need more than 3 properties.
Okay, good. Bleachers in the back?
Be clear on what you're working toward, and your lifestyle and your business, how they support one another.
So at 12:30, we're gonna talk about setting schedules for your personal life, your business life, and we're gonna add a little bucket in there, which is wealth building, which we have in there. We'll talk about that, so that's a good pickup. What'd you guys think today? Good?
Great.
Give a round of applause. We have this little tradition here that we get a group picture and no one's allowed to leave, so we have 2 bouncers on either side. So if you don't mind, we're all gonna stand up.